Hey everyone, this is going to be a track walk at Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We are in the Porsche 911 RSR. I'm going to first play the lap in full in cockpit view, and then we'll do it in chase view, and then we'll do some track analysis. And here's the lap in chase view. Alright, so for your reference, that lap was a 113.5. Now before we start, two things that I wanted to mention about this track that I feel are fairly unique and definitely need to be paid attention to. One is that, unlike, for example, if you remember my Glen track walk, it was corner, straight, and you kind of, every turn was kind of, able to be dealt with on its own. Mosport is basically completely the opposite. The last four corners of this track are an entire complex, where we have the big uphill is kind of a three-corner complex between the downhill before it and then the 180. And another thing is that most corners don't have a very long straight in between them. By the time you are tracking out of one corner, you need to immediately set up for the next one. And if you don't use all the track, you will sacrifice your corners and then sacrifice your lap times. So setting up the corners is very important here. And the other thing that's very unique here is that there is no real big brake zone and no real, brake markers to speak of. A lot of this track I feel like is just practice and repetition and building up the muscle memory. you know, you can also always find yourself some brake markers, whether it's, you know, a pole on the side or the end of a wall or something, or a sign, but there aren't too many here, and they're sometimes a little bit outside of your you know, straight on vision. They're in your peripheral, and you know, you don't always have time to notice everything. So especially when you're racing on track with other cars, and you know, you're paying attention to that. So a lot of this track, I definitely feel like, is just building up the muscle memory, and just you know, knowing where your turn-in points are with, you know, practice. All right, so let's head here into turn one. Turn one is going to be downhill to the right. Pretty much. Let's actually switch this to cockpit view here. All right, so pretty much you see the hill kind of crests and then drops away. That's pretty much when I want to start my turn in. So if we back up here a little bit, as we come into here, it's straight, and then once the track looks like it's about to drop away, that's when I turn in. I could have maybe turned in even a little bit later, but that's about your turn in point. And all you want to do here is, if you look at my brake trace, all I'm doing is just trailing the brake. It's just more of a lift, but you basically just want to trail the brake a little bit just to keep the nose down. And you're apexing pretty much at the end of this curbing, and that's when you're picking up the throttle. And you basically go full throttle out of here and track out completely. If you get on the gas a little early, you may end up going a little wide here, so you may have to lift a little bit. You definitely want to make sure you get a late apex right at the end of the curbing, and full throttle should bring you right outside to this curbing over here. But now this is where I was saying all the corners are kind of linked, because there's no real straightaway here. You need to immediately set yourself up for the next corner, which is a left-hander. So what we're going to do here is bring the car right back over to the right side here, and then immediately you're going to start to go into your left-hander here. This is kind of like turn one again, where it's, you know, kind of a blind corner downhill, and right around here you're kind of seeing the horizon of the road. That's pretty much when it's going to start to drop away, and that's when you start to turn into the corner. You turn in at first almost still at full speed, and right here, that's when I let off the throttle. So I turned in first, still full throttle. Now this corner is kind of a very, very long downhill corner that you're going to treat as a double apex. You're going to see as we go into here, there's going to be a place where the pavement juts into the grass. That's going to be your first apex, and your second apex is going to be another spot where it looks pretty much exactly the same, with the pavement jutting into the grass. So we're gonna trail our brake in here just to keep the nose down, shave off a little bit of speed, downshift to fourth. That's your first apex right there, and the car is gonna wash out. Now it's gonna feel like it's washing out a lot, but as you can see, we're going downhill now, and then it's going to level out. And what's going to happen there is you're going to get good compression into the ground, and your tires are going to stick. And then you can pretty much go full throttle here, and you'll see the car will just come right back in, and it will hit your second apex here, which, as you can see again, looks just like our first apex. Let me just back that up here. So this was our first apex. You can see right there the pavement juts into the grass. You're going to trail the brake in here, trail the brake in, and it feels like you're washing out wide, but now you can get back on the gas, and your tires are going to have plenty of grip, and this is your second apex. And as long as you're tight over here, you can stay full throttle. You should make it. You should basically be able to stay full throttle and track out all the way to the curbing here. Now, This next turn, as you can see, is a right-hander. Again, we don't really have a long straight in between. You immediately have to set up for this next turn. So you need to bring it back all the way to the left here. And again, what's most important is using the whole track. If you don't come all the way back to the left here, you're just going to compromise this next turn and your corner speed. I can't stress enough on this track how important it is to set up your turns and use the whole track. Your line may seem okay, but that extra, car width to one side here or there will make a big difference in your lap time. It's also not a very long track, so lap times are pretty short here. So right here you see there's that sign, and I believe right about after that is when I start my braking. So yeah, right as I pass it, that's when I start braking. I don't brake too hard here. You just want to quickly shave off some speed, but then trail into the turn to shave off the rest of the speed. It's a long right-hander, and that's another thing about all the turns here aren't really quick. There are a lot of long swooping turns. I mean, if you looked at turn 1 and turn 2, the double apex, I mean, they're all very long swooping turns. So you don't want to take away all the speed initially before your turn in, because you can carry more speed through these. So you're doing a lot of trail braking. And like I said, there's no real big braking zones where we're hitting 70, 80, 90% brake pressure. It's all just shave off a little bit of speed and then trail the brake through the turn just to keep the nose down. So we start our braking there, and then we start our turn in, fourth gear and third gear, just trailing it in. You're kind of following that the line where the pavement was restored. And then right at the end of the curbing here is where we pick up the throttle. And once you leave that curbing, you can basically go full throttle. It's going to feel like you're gonna go out wide, but the track actually it keeps turning here and opens up to the left side, so you'll have the room. And even if you feel like you're gonna go a little wide, you just lift a little bit, and you should make it. Again, like I said, no real straights here. You immediately had to come back over to the right here to set yourself up for the next corner, which is a left-hander. Just very, very important. Use the whole track and make sure you set up your turns. This corner here is where I said it's kind of another 3-corner complex. It's going to be downhill to the left, uphill to the right, and then another right onto the back straight. And if you mess up one corner, it's going to completely mess up every single turn after that. So your turn in here is kind of like right before the sign. You want to start turning in. You kind of like want to be turning as you're going underneath the sign. You don't want to turn in too early because you need a late apex this. If you are coming in tighter with the curbing over here, you're gonna end up going out wide as you exit here. And as you can see, we have a right-hander coming up. So you need to sacrifice the exit on this one in order to make your next right one well. So as you can see, and in the RSR you have enough downforce. As you can see, I'm still full throttle. And as you can see, complete late apex. I'm basically apexing all the way at the end of the turn, pretty much when I'm coming onto this little straight section right here, and that's when I start my braking. If you either start your turn in too late, or if you start your turn in too early on this turn and apex early, you're going to end up wide. And if you end up wide here, you're going to have a big problem with this turn. This is to me, this is probably the trickiest turn on the track. Just because it is a very steep uphill where you get good compression for braking and turning. However, it very quickly flattens out, and so you need to make sure that you get all of your turning and braking done before it flattens out, because if you have too much brake pressure on or too much steering in, you're going to lose traction on the front wheels, because they're just going to get so light. So do my braking, shave off some speed, downshift, I'm going all the way into second over here, turn in, and then right as this crests, as you can see, my brake pressure becomes practically nothing. And then I come out here and I downshift into first, just to help me slow down the car a little bit. You want that drag in the back. Again, you're still kind of, you have so much momentum that the car is still very light here. So you don't want to, hit your brakes too hard or anything like that. And then you just want to bring it into this corner right here. I did come in a little late, just because I felt like I had a little more speed, and so I actually kept it in first gear. But by being in first, I was able to have a very quick exit out here. You should be on the gas as you're approaching this turn. So I get back on the gas, let's see, right here. So as I'm approaching that corner, I'm back on the gas. And once you pass that corner, you should be full throttle. If you do that, I have noticed that exactly how you exit this corner won't matter too much, because as you can see, I do have to come out all the way out here in order to make it at full throttle. And as long as you're coming out to that curbing over there, then you probably had good corner and exit speed here. A lot of times I'll actually be coming through here slightly faster, but turn in earlier, and then I'll actually upshift into second, just because it's a little bumpy over here, especially if you go out over here into this curbing, and you might be a little bit traction limited. So I'll I'll short shift and upshift to second early. But as long as by the time you are passing this corner, you are full throttle, you should be good. As long as you're also tracking all the way out. If you're going full throttle and you don't need to track all the way out, then it probably means that you could have carried a little more corner speed and you shaved off too much speed coming up over the hill. But yeah, in general, this is probably the trickiest corner to get right. Now down the back straight here, you literally just want to take the shortest line. So we'll come over to the right over here. And then the next turn is going to be a right-hander. So we're going to want to come back over to the left. And that's here where we're coming back over to the left. Alright, now before we go into this is where I said the last 4 corners of this track are another complex. This back straight was pretty much the only straight that's on this track, but these 4 are completely intertwined. If you screw up any of them, every single one after that is going to be screwed up, and you're going to end up going very slow through this section and losing a lot of time. Now, this right-hander is kind of like turn 1. I'm sorry, not turn 1. Turn 2. It's like a double apex. You want to start your turn in just like in turn 2. You want to start your turn in, still kind of full throttle, and then as you're approaching your apex, that's when you're gonna start your braking and downshift. And again, no big braking zone. We're trailing the brake to shave off a little bit of speed, and to keep the nose down. So I think my turn-in point is, yeah, so it's like right after that, the third pole on the left side. This is when I start turning in. I'm still full throttle while I'm turning in, but then as we come into this corner, I don't have that much steering lock, so I can use a decent amount of brake pressure. Then I'm just trailing it in as I'm downshifting, and especially when even if you came in a little hot or at the appropriate speed, it's gonna feel like you're washing out wide, but that's okay. Just keep your trail brake on. Just very little bit. What am I at right now? 7%. It's just a very little bit of brake pressure. That'll be enough to shave off the speed you need to make this turn, and it'll keep the nose down. So you'll have a good amount of grip. And you should basically come right back into this second apex right here. So this curbing is your first apex. You're going to wash out a little wide, and you're going to come back right into your second apex. And that's when you get back on the gas, once you hit the second apex. You may have a little bit of slippage here with the tire, so just play with the throttle. Sometimes you can go through full throttle if you're a little slower in that turn. If you're going a little faster, you may be even less throttle than I had right now, but as you see through here, I was just playing with it just to keep the keep from sliding around too much. And then, like I said, this is where every corner is dependent on the previous corner. You don't want to wash out wide here coming out of that second apex, because now you have a left-hander. So you want to kind of be towards the middle right of the track here to open up this left-hander. And then it's pretty much going to be the same thing. You're just gonna trail the brake in, and you're gonna late apex here and get back on the gas. And now again, you don't want to go complete full throttle too early, because you're gonna wash out wide. But now we have a right-hander, so you're gonna need to come back over to the left. And then right around here is I guess this is right around where the signs start over here. I'm gonna start my braking and downshift to second. So if you notice, we were in fourth gear through the double apex turn, then we downshifted to third for this last left-hander, and now for this last right-hander, we are going to downshift into second. You just shave off a little bit of speed, trail the brake in, and again right back on the gas, late apex, and then track all the way out full throttle to make it back onto the front straight. Yeah, so like I said, I just want to reiterate, there are not really any straights here except for the back straight. Using up the whole track, setting up every single turn, and knowing which turns you need to sacrifice because you have big complexes is the most important thing here for getting a decent lap. And because, like I said, there's no big brake zones or anything. It's a lot of trail braking just to make sure you can keep that nose down and just shave off a little bit of speed. You want to, like I said, these are long swooping curves, a lot of them. You want to carry as much corner speed as possible. Yeah, and and like I said, there aren't really that many brake markers, so you just want to do a lot of laps, a lot of practice, and build up that muscle memory. Alright, so that was a lap in the Porsche RSR at Mosport. And good luck this week, guys.